Okay, so hey everyone, and thanks for joining us today for this live stream about recipe for social media and viral social media in particular. Well, I'm Mark Thomas. I'm the co-founder of Dupol, which is a live survey tool. It's great for events online and offline, but also fantastic if you're trying to build an audience for your business online. Actually, on average, Dupol respondents leave an email address 43% of the time, which means that you can build your mailing list fast. Today, though, we'll be looking at a live poll together, and some of you will have taken part in that already. And I've added some more questions to that. So there's one which is live right now, and if you want to take part in that, you can just go there by opening up any web browser, adding do.vote to the address bar. That's doo.vote. You can see it right there on the bottom of the screen, and typing in the code social media live. So SOCMED live, really. And we've got a question live there now, and in about 1 minute, there'll be another one. So go ahead and start answering that. Now, we're joined today by Owen Williams. Owen, hi.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
Good, thanks. Great, great. Owen's a managing director of creative social media agency Simul, and not coincidentally, though, that he's one of the two people responsible for the official proposal that put the Wales, Scotland, and unfortunately, I've got to say, the England flag, no, I'm only joking, on all your devices. So great to be here with you, Owen. How's it going? Everything
Thanks,
well?
Mark. I'm really well. Yeah, thanks. And thanks for the mention of the emojis. That was a fun time in my life.
Nice, nice. So look, Owen, you've had some notable social media wins in the past. Can you just give us a couple of snippets of kind of your success stories? I'm going to put you on a little window right here, so you'll be able to see yourself while we take a look at some of those. Give me two
Sure.
seconds. I'm a terrible multitasker, you should all know in advance, okay? So, Owen, walk us through a couple of these.
So this was a tweet. I noticed a tweet. I think it was beginning of the year, last year, late last year, and it was Nigel Owens, the rugby referee, in response to a lady who'd accused him of working with a bear. And bears are a wild animal, and you shouldn't be doing that. I don't know if you want to open them up, Mark. Open the first one up from Katie Marshall, and I literally just grabbed, I screen capped all three: the response, the initial tweet, the response, and then an image. And this went insane immediately. People just thought this was hilarious because the juxtaposition between the three is so good. So Katie Marshall says very concerned and sad to see a bear being used, and then yeah, there we are. Very concerned and sad to see Citroen UK and Nigel Ref Owens use a bear to advertise their cars. And Nigel Owens comes in with Kate, with all due respect, please use a bit of common sense. A man in a bear's suit, and I thought, well, I've got to screen cap the actual the actual image. So if you go to the next one, Mark, it's effectively that is the bear she was complaining about, and I just screen capped that with a missive Twitter above it because it's just a perfect example of how things can go just really, really insane, really, really quickly on this platform. So I was just it just felt right to do it, and it didn't feel like it needed more explanation because the three images did the job. I didn't need to add any more to it, but Twitter as a word, as a sort of jumping off point, just helped people understand what it was they were about to see. And I continued the thread, and you can see them down the side of the screen. They smarter than your average bear, and he makes an excellent passenger. And then my iPhone just went insane. My notifications were spiraling, and then I could add in a few more of my past viral successes, such as the I Love Cow, which is effectively from a Chanel ad in Paddington in London. I love cocoa, it actually says, but I love cow is even funnier. And it just got really silly really quickly, and then got pick up from all sorts of viral harvesting websites all over the world and Reddit and so on and so forth. But it's yeah, 3 million. I think it's about 4 million by today. 3 million times that was viewed on Twitter, which is, you know, by most people's standards, that's amazing. I mean, I've had some bigger wins in the past, but when I worked for BBC One, because I was head of social at BBC One, and I landed some really big wins there, some really big fish. In fact, I know you've got one of them on the stream, but it's just there's just a recipe to it, and that's what the sell for this talk is, this recipe. But then there was another one. There was Christmas last year. Something happened to us, my wife and I. We had our neighbour had passed away, and our elderly neighbour had passed away, and his daughter popped round. It literally says it all there. Our elderly neighbour passed away recently. His daughter popped round a few moments ago, clutching a large plastic sack, and in the sack were all the Christmas presents he bought for our daughter for the next 13 years, and 3 images. You know, it was a quite emotional moment. But I'll confess, I also know what I'm doing. So I also know how to frame that in a real. No, I'm not. Yeah, okay. So it's professionally cynical, is what I call it. But I wasn't being professionally cynical, but also my brain. I think like that, you know. I think in terms of how can I maximize views on this particular tweet, and I'm one of those people. I go back and delete it and try again if I don't feel I've landed it correctly. But this thread, I mean, if you scroll down on this one, this was insanity. I put a poll up and said, "What do you all think? Do you think I should open them now and see what they all are?" Because I didn't know what they were, or save them for later. With 67,000 votes on the poll, by do poll standard, Mark, that's pretty good, I think.
I was going to say other polling platforms are available, Owen.
Yeah, other platforms. Yeah, exactly. But it just kept going, and the press interest, thanks to a former colleague of mine, Catherine Jenkins at BBC Wales News. Other news services are available, of course. She picked up on it, and then it went crazy. Some of the Wales News Service wires picked up on it, and it was everywhere really, really quickly. And again, it's that recipe of that idea of just informing people, and it was the topicalities. Well, you can't magic this bit up. It was Christmas, and it was people are looking for those stories at Christmas time that make them feel really good about themselves. But this was in virtually every news website across the world. I mean, there were people picking up on it who'd never even spoken to me and just writing these articles about it when I was quite happy to speak to everyone. But it's the way of the world with journalism, I guess. Sometimes journalism is a thing where people pick it up and go with it. And then this was another one. This one was at BBC One. So oddly enough, you'd think, not to have a go at my former colleagues in any way, shape, or form, but the marketing department of BBC One approached me and said, we've got this new series called Big Cats, and my viral tweeting, my viral social radar is going off immediately, and I'm thinking, right, Big Cats, that's going to win on social. So can I see it? And they said, yes, of course. I'll send you the first episode to watch. So, and then I got a message from the Natural History Unit in Bristol, BBC Natural History Unit, and they said, we've got this new series called Big Cats, and we've got some money to make social content. I went, well, hang on a second, have you spoken to marketing? And they said, no. I went, do you ever speak to marketing? Well, no, not really. Right, okay, well, I'm going to do the very Welsh thing. I'm going to get you all in one room. Went, what? Anyway, it worked phenomenally well, because what happened was marketing creative, I wanted these really great reasons to watch the television show. And from creative, and from Natural History Unit, I wanted really strong reasons. I wanted really sort of added value as opposed to reasons to watch a television show. I can do that on social. I don't need them to do that on social. So it was just framing that really effectively. And what I did was, the copy was something along the lines of, I don't know if you can pull it back up, Mark, because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was something like, this is the world's deadliest cat. Seriously, look at her. With a heart eyes emoji after it, and that by itself performs phenomenally well, because you're doing those 3 things I talk about: information, identity, and emotion. Information, how this piece of content better informs me about the world around me. Oh my god, this is the world's deadliest cat. Identity, I've got a cat. How this piece of content or messaging better informs me about myself. And emotion, seriously, look at her, heart eyes emoji, how this piece of content makes me feel. And when you can manage those 3 things and do it quite effectively, you're going to rack up, and what is it, 109 million views on Facebook for that one. And it's not time centric. It's not you don't need a particular time of day to be able to associate with this. In fact, if you clicked on, see the most relevant tab underneath, if you clicked on newest, see the most relevant there. If you clicked on newest now, I reckon there's one in the past 24 hours, a comment. And this one 2 years ago.
There you go.
There we are, 12 hours ago. There we are. Janet Gar, who says, can't read that, Indonesian or something, but this is all over the world, this one. And on every August the 8th, Mark, this goes back up. Because August the 8th is International Cat Day. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
spot on.
Okay. Well,
Spot
look, I
on.
think one of the crucial things about this, and this is really what viral social media is that that's got 456,000 shares.
But that's
That,
purely on the BBC One channel. That was published on BBC Earth and BBC. It was
right,
cross-posted to all the BBC's channels as well. So BBC Earth, BBC News, BBC Three, and they've all got instances of shares as well. So the shares are in. They're not 456 shares on this piece of content. This piece of content has something like 3 or 4 or 5 million shares.
really,
It's purely on this instance you're seeing the
wow.
shares there. Yeah.
Okay,
The
that's pretty
collective,
crazy.
the views are collated, all collective, but you're only seeing comments and shares on this particular instance on the BBC One account.
Okay.
This
Well,
is
look,
something I wrote in a hotel late at night in London when I was working there.
well, that's good return on investment for an evening in a hotel in London, huh?
They don't begrudge me paying for it now, I guess.
Whoa, all right. Hey, look. So as I mentioned, we've got a live poll open at the moment, and you can take part in that. Let's take a look at that now. So we asked the audience. I mean, there's a couple of people responding here. I'm sure we're going to see more in a moment. But which of the tweets that Owen mentioned resonates with you most? Well, there's a pretty clear winner there at the moment. Caddy's presence. We're still waiting for a representative sample, I've got to say. So we'll see. Oh, there you go.
Oh, there
All
we
right.
go. There we
There's some
go.
fans of the world's most deadly cat here.
To
Oh,
be
it's
fair,
all
what you showed
happening.
them was a Facebook post of the cat. In fairness, Mark, so it's not a tweet, but
Sorry,
yeah, it's the
sorry.
same
I'm
thing.
so
With
sorry.
as
I'm
well.
so sorry.
No, 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 no.
That's why you're in
That
your
is really
profession.
clever. Look how clever. That's amazing. 10 responses.
Yeah. Please say
Good
that
lord.
again into the microphone.
That's fantastic. Look how live that is.
Yeah,
I've
nice.
not
All
seen
right.
this in the wild, so I'm really impressed.
Yeah, it's the world's most deadly polling platform. So, cool. And then we also asked this: have you ever had a tweet go viral? 90 responses there. 74% of people said no. And I think that's pretty interesting given the topic that we're talking about today, which is have you got the recipe for viral social media? So, like you've pitched this idea that there is a recipe for viral social media. Can you
There
talk a little
definitely
bit
is. There definitely
more
is.
about that?
And there definitely is. And I'll tell you why, Mark, there definitely is. Because I use it all the time. And pound for pound, I do get a lot of sort of semi-viral or viral tweets. And I know what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
I've done, I've been doing this for a long, long time. But, I know the recipe. So the recipe is threefold. The recipe is really simple, actually. Information. And I've mentioned this previously, but information. How a piece of content and or messaging better
Yeah.
informs me about the world around me. I'll come on to me in a second. Identity. How a piece of content and or messaging better informs me about myself. And fundamentally, emotion. How a piece of content and or messaging better informs me, makes me feel, I do apologize, emotion. How a piece of content and or messaging makes me feel. And the reason I say me is because social, when done correctly, is targeting self, is targeting the human at the other end of your device or computer or browser, is targeting that person. They are not sharing content because it makes their milkman and or their next door neighbor feel better about themselves. It's because it affects them in an emotional capacity. It affects them in some emotional, has some emotional resonance with themselves. It's not social media in truth, it's actually selfish media. It's all about me, me, me. So you share content because it provides the world with a version of you want to impress upon them or convey. So that's the fundamental reason why social media is so successful. Also, social. That's one of the key things here. The word social. You've got to be social around content, particularly when brands are pumping content. You can't just broadcast, you have to engage. So if you keep those three things in mind, information, identity, emotion, you don't need all three all the time. But look at the cat one. The cat one is a really good example, a really strong example of information, identity, emotion. Information, this is the world's deadliest cat. Identity, oh my god, I've got a cat, or I know someone who's got a cat, I've met a cat, I've seen a cat, I've touched a cat. And emotion, seriously, look at her. Oh my god, look at the cute cat, it's vicious as hell. Pound for pound, 60% of its hands successful or something similar. Ridiculously successful killer cat that's about this big. But yeah, cat and dog content always resonates, but you can make this happen with a wide range of content. But I will say this, Mark, as well. If your content is not designed to have any of those three things, then why, in God's name, are you putting it on social media, in particular on Facebook? Unless you can afford to put tens of thousands of pounds behind something,
Yeah.
don't put it on Facebook. It doesn't have any of those things. But
That's
the
a
other thing I would add there is when I talk about monetizing your content, let your content have some organic breathing space. Know it's successful with your audience, your
mhm.
sort of audience, your algorithm reach before you put some money behind it, because you were just layering money on top of something that is never
Right.
going to work otherwise.
Okay. Well, look, I'm sure that the chefs out there are going to hate me saying this, but it feels that a lot of time that you spend on social media, let me rephrase that. It feels that a lot of the time cooking actually is a little bit like magic. You see them on the Master Chef, and suddenly it's all about, whoa, here's this thing I've made out of it, beetroot or whatever. It looks amazing,
Yeah, yeah.
but
I
clearly
don't
it's
know
not.
BT, but yeah, sure.
How do you pull those ingredients that you talked about together to be a bit more kind of strategic? Just pulling in the threads about your idea of the recipe for viral social media. There, how do you
Yeah, I
execute
mean,
on that?
you can have the recipe, but you're right. It's like a cookbook. You can have the recipe. It doesn't mean you're going to produce restaurant quality food at the end of it. So you've got your recipe. Technique is so important, but technique, part of that is practice. Part of that is getting it right. Part of it is knowing your audience and what they expect from you. Um, I mean, it's it's one of those things that I publish personally. I publish a lot of content that resonates with a sort of Welsh engaged political audience, or an audience that's engaged with finding that the strange things in the entertainment world. And I like to think that I know my audience there. But in terms of understanding how those three things can be molded, remember that the person at the other end of the device or the computer is a human. And you
Mm,
can't just frame something in a way that's designed to push a message to an audience. There has to be a way of that audience not only welcoming that content, but also going, well, what can I do with this content now? How can I better engage with that content? I think we slip up so often because we think of Twitter and Facebook as a tool to say, this is what we're
mm,
doing, not this is what we're doing, what do you think, or how can we, this is what we're doing, I would like you to be on board with it. And not those
mm,
words per se, but frame something in a way that is warm and human, moreover, social. It's so important. People seem to forget that it's not broadcast media. It is social media. It's a fundamentally different technique.
mm.
Take a look at some of those tweets. There's the one again the one about Nigel Owens there is effectively I'm not using copy really, and by
Right.
copy I just mean the word I put in the post. I'm not using copy. I'm letting it breathe and letting it speak for itself and letting people
Mm,
recognize the humor. And when I talk about
mm,
emotion, it is those things. It's humor, it's desire, it's love, it's sadness. And when you can merge all of those things into one, you've got yourself something that's
mm,
going to be really powerful.
mm.
Structure your tweets, structure your Facebook posts in particular correctly, and you'll reap some rewards. And by all means, if the people listening want to DM me and send me, content that they're working on, feel free. I'd love to see what you're all
Wow,
doing.
that's a great offer. That's a really good offer. Owen, we had to pay him so much money to come on this live stream, guys. So,
Literally nothing. That's how busy I am right now. It's a funny old
amazing.
time, Mark. It's a funny old time. We've not been as busy as we usually are, so
Well,
I'm more than happy.
well, on the plus side, this is going down well on social media. I've already seen
Oh, good.
a
Is
lot
it?
of
I've
people.
not I've not
Yeah,
checked my phone so far.
there's a lot of people taking part, and actually, a lot of people have already taken part in the live vote, as we can see up here.
Oh, put it up, put it up. Let's see.
There are a good number of people
All
voting
right.
now on what's coming in, and it's clear that Caddy's presence is the favorite at the moment. But the other two are lagging just a little bit behind, and so we
Ooh,
might see those catch up
there's
in a minute.
maybe time for the bear yet, eh?
Yeah, yeah, and I'm going to say no one's applied the principles yet, but there's still time for that. um, well, look, we've got a couple of questions here actually from the audience as well. So let me go through a couple of those with you, if I'm able.
Yeah, of course.
So the first question that I've got, I'm going to keep all of these anonymous. Just if you want yours attributed, send me a message on Twitter at Doopoll, Doopoll, and
And I will track them down in TweetDeck and find them and target them directly.
Yeah, we will do that. The first question comes from somebody who wants to know, how do you go about getting an emoji? I would like to make the Iaith Gwaith symbol an emoji. Would it be possible? I noticed recently that the Breton flag has been made an emoji for a few weeks.
Okay, so the Breton flag being made an emoji for a few weeks, that wouldn't quite be correct. That would probably be what they used to term a hash flag or a Twitter emoji, which is where you pump in a hashtag and you get a little graphic appearing at the back end of it. They're probably working in conjunction with Twitter France or someone similar, or Twitter EMEA, to enable them to do that. I sincerely doubt it's actually an emoji that only appeared for a few weeks, because emojis are something that appear and then are there permanently. Right. In terms of Iaith Gwaith, I know Iaith Gwaith is the little orange a speech bubble symbol. The problem with so Unicode are the organisation that approve and manage all font characters and computer characters that appear on your devices. So on your keyboard or on your mobile keyboard, and emojis and everything else as well, and pictograms and all the wingdings and the works. That they manage all of that content. They make sure that it's not font so much; it's the characters themselves. Unicode have a set of instructions about what makes what would work for them and what would not, and very territory specific emojis, and emojis linked to a campaign that has a lifespan. And that Iaith Gwaith logo may change in 5 years' time. When government funding changes, these things go away. The likelihood of that actually becoming an emoji, I'm sorry to say, is a flat zero. There is absolutely no chance of that happening. I wouldn't even write a proposal. If, however, you don't believe me and you want to get kicked in the teeth, feel free to have a look in the Unicode emoji submission forms. That's what we did. So I don't mean to be disparaging at all. And if I come across that way, I apologise. But the truth is that emojis and submissions linked to short-termism or territorial-based campaigns are simply not going to get any traction, because these are global properties as opposed to something that exists for Wales only. So yeah, be very mindful of that before you go about doing a lot of work to submit something that ain't going to go anywhere.
Okay, if I can just
take a look. You can genuinely take a look at the submission for the Wales, Scotland, England emoji. So Emojipedia, I work with Jeremy Burge from Emojipedia on that. And if you search for Emojipedia Wales, England, Scotland emoji submission or proposal or something, just do a Google search for it. You'll find it straight away. It's there. There's a PDF document that you can have a look at it.
Okay, well, look, actually, we just had one question come in several times live about a similar topic, and I think you've got a lot to say about it, if you're okay with me asking this.
I don't know what it is yet. I'll tell you in a sec.
Oh, yeah. What are your tips for creating engaging, playful, bilingual social content? Clearly, you've worked a lot in Wales, and we have so many good questions coming in here. Thank you for everyone who's sending them in. Hopefully we're going to get around to them. But if we don't, I will also post them later on Twitter to Owen, and if he's got time, he can respond. You've worked a lot in Wales, so give us a kind of idea about this.
Well, I was in charge of social at BBC Wales as well, and I run a social agency in Wales, and I make a lot of bilingual content as well. So we make video content, and we make we create social content. We've been working recently with independent TV company Boom Cymru and S4C to make all the video content around the Iaith ar Daith series, where Ruth Jones, Carol Vorderman, Scott Quinnell, Adrian Childs, and Colin Jackson tour Wales learning the Welsh language. And my pitch to the broadcaster and to the indie was sort of forget about the television programme, forget about the sort of linear aspect of this, focus on the fact that this piece of content exists for its own in its own world, in its own bubble and social. So how can we best convey that? And what I would say in terms of the copy you're creating alongside, just remember that the people who speak Welsh also speak English. So don't say the same thing twice in the same tweet, because that just looks bonkers. Have something different to say to that other audience. Now, I recognise that probably doesn't sit hand in hand with what the Welsh Language Commissioner's stratagem is. However, this is where me as an entrepreneur in my own right, I deviate from that idea that the two things have to have equal balance, because I understand both languages. So why do I want to read it twice? I don't understand why I'd want to read it in English and in Welsh in the same tweet. So for goodness sakes, give people something slightly different. For example, there's a tweet I put up earlier today. I've taken the S4C, published the Ruth Jones Learning Welsh in a farmer's mark video. And I know this content inside out, so I just tweeted it myself. I've taken their video and tweeted it myself, and they get all the views in it. Don't worry, I'm not ripping their content. They get all the views in it. But I've just put, I think it's about 50 sheep emojis and the word David in the middle of it. It's not quite worked out like I quite thought it would. But that in itself, it doesn't need Welsh or English language copy to punch through for that bilingual piece. It doesn't need it at all, because the text aspect of it does the job for you. It's about framing, and it's about, again, hitting those emotional edges with people, and for people to understand. The truth is that the widest audience possible is a Welsh language, is an English language speaking audience. So you have to have some punch through with them, and if you frame your bilingual content in a way that only Welsh speakers are going to engage with, you miss out on the possibility of this vast number of people going, oh my god, what's Welsh? How can I get involved, and how can I understand a bit more about this? How can, I need to take this seriously. So I have that front of mind whenever I'm creating content around bilingual or Welsh content, because I think that it's that framing that's so important for the widest possible audience. Because what we're always looking for as I guess broadcasters, or I guess indies, is that bounce back effect. That idea that you put a piece of content out and you hope it'll hit audiences in Guatemala or in Australia, and they, through their networks, will hit audiences back at home who should actually be engaging with it but are not seeing it otherwise. So you're hoping for that widest possible net casting in order to drag people back.
Okay, that was a great answer. Nice one. I've got two super quick questions off that. We've only got about 3 or 4 minutes left, so bear these in mind.
Right, okay, good.
I wish we could stay longer, but we don't want to take up everyone's time.
No.
Past when we said. 2 questions. Firstly, you mentioned that your tweet hasn't worked out as you wanted it to, with the Nigel Owens thing, or with the sheep. Question from the audience is, do you like your tweets, your own tweets, to kind of stoke some engagement? Great, that's that one.
Tweets when they're good.
There you go. All right. And then I guess following on from that, another question which somebody has asked here is, what's the strategy when it doesn't turn out right? What do you do then?
Well, look, it depends on what you're pitching. So if you've got a piece of copy and it's a standalone piece of copy, go again, do something different with it. If it's a piece of copy and a video, and the video isn't hitting the right audience, it's a good video. It has all the emotional markers. It's got that sort of frequency of shots. And I do a course called Heartbeat Frequency, by the way, if anyone's looking for something to spend money on in this lockdown period. But about the resonance and how to tailor social video for how to tailor video for social. So if you've got a good piece of video, you've got a good image, then go again with a copy. You're not hitting the same audience every single time you tweet, and an audience is not going to tire of the fact that you were putting the same thing out a couple of times. Don't do it within the same 10-minute space. For goodness sakes, if it's really strong content, go again. Try the copy again. Try it in a different way or a different format. Take a look at my timeline. Take a look at the number of times I've done this Ruth Jones one in the past 24 hours. Because I think I've done it 3 times, because the first time I went with it, I wasn't too, it didn't work like I thought it would. It got fairly good engagement, but didn't get engagement I thought. The next time I did it, I sort of went for a bit more, we did this and I love doing this and so on, and people engaged with that in a sort of very human way. And the next time I've done it was the sheep emojis with David in the middle. And that was just a brain fart this morning. And I just thought, well, this is funny, I'll do this. And it just worked. And it's not, what it doesn't do is it engender the that feedback or the replies you get when you're a bit more heartfelt and honest about the piece. But I've done it 3 times now, and they're
Yeah.
all working. They're all adding to S4C's count of video views. I think I've generated about 7 or 8 thousand views by myself for this piece of content that I made
Mm.
for Media and for the broadcaster. So I'm doing my job of giving it a bit of a poke as well, a
Sure.
bit of a push.
All right. Well, look, one more question. We're almost out of time. We had a couple of questions from different people in different angles here about this. How do you go about creating engaging viral social media content for things that people would consider dry topics? Somebody has suggested accountancy. Somebody has suggested government content and things like that. What would you say there?
There was a really nice example last year. I think it was an accountancy firm, but it was an accountancy firm called Pink Accountancy or something, and they basically did a photo shoot where they covered all their files and folders in very bright pink paint, and it was visually very stimulating. This sort of, we
Yeah.
talk about this ASMR is this big deal on social audio. What is it? Audio autonomous sensory motor response or something, where
I'll tell you what it is,
you get
Owen.
this
It's really
sensation.
weird.
Go on.
It's
Yeah, you
extremely
love it,
weird.
don't you, Mark? Yeah, it's extremely weird. But these sounds and images that make people
Yeah.
feel in their bones that it really resonates with them on a sort of ethereal level almost, or
Yeah.
on that subcutaneous level. But there's something about playing with formats and playing with the idea of perception and
Yeah.
this idea that you are perceived in a certain way, and how can you play with that perception, because accountancy by its own merits can be
Right.
exceptionally dry and technical, but
Sure.
that appeal can be through, we recognize that it's dry and technical, however, look at what we're doing here. And it's just, and sometimes what you want if you're an accountancy firm is to get more people on board to engage with your accountancy firm, and you can, when I say engage, give you money to do their accountancy for them, but
Hmm.
have a bit of fun with your personality and social. Remember that your business and your social and just two parts of
Right.
of the same equation. They're not the same thing, though. They're not the same
Okay.
thing, and that's the key to remember.
All right, Owen, this has been really good. We're out of time now. I just want to say thanks to you, and I'm sure the
You're so
audience
welcome. Diolch.
watching would say the same thing. Yeah, diolch i ti hefyd. Um, uh, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
They can tweet me, Owswills, OWSWILLS, or you can tweet me from my company at Sinnel Social. If you go to my website, my phone number's there. Call me. I had my hair cut by a wife, so I apologise. She's not a hairdresser. So if you're wondering why I look so strange, that's the reason why. Lockdown does crazy things to us, Mark.
Hey, there you
So
go.
you can see those pictures on Twitter as well. I've tweeted those pictures. They're horrendous.
Yeah,
And stay safe, everyone. For goodness sake, stay
yeah,
safe, and look after your neighbours
great.
as well.
Nice one. Well, look, I just want to give a shout out here to Dupol as well. Obviously, if you were interested in doing some of what you've seen today with the live poll, or if you just want to ask about the live stream, I'm happy to give you some pointers as well, how we've done that. Really cool piece of tech that we used. So you can learn more about Dupol by going to doopol.co. That's DOOPOLL.co. We'll carry on the conversation on Twitter and Facebook. So if you have any questions you still want to ask, let us know there. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And join us again next week when we'll be carrying on with these live streams. Hopefully you're enjoying them as much as we are. And we will see you soon. Take care. Bye.